That's really interesting, and it reminds me of I've been reading Tim Graver's book, who is the fitness coach for Michael Jordan amongst others, called Relentless, and so he talks about the conversation between marginal gains, the one percenters, perhaps typified by Dave Brailsford from Team Sky, now Ineos Cycling, and the fundamental shift that people like Steph Curry talk about. If you really want to get to your 22%, fundamental shift. And there's that discussion in businesses as well, is how do we improve our performance as a business? Is it by doing bits and pieces here and there to get you 22%, or do we need that fundamental mindset shift? So can you talk a bit around that perhaps?
Yes, I absolutely agree. And I think both are important. You can't say forget about the 1%ers, because the 1%ers sooner or later will be important, and all of us will acknowledge that a 1% is better than a 0%. And it's hard work. So 1%ers are important. But I think we can get to the real shifts when we look at ourselves, because that's the difference of the 1%ers. We can all easily look at the outside world and say, well, somewhere in the business, something needs to be fixed and let's work on it. And it is actually it's a very comfortable position, because we are never the problem. We're there to fix, and the problem is somewhere external to us. And if we really want to get into the kind of the shifts, I think it is an inner journey, and it is very confrontational of just saying, how am I part of this problem? And really working on ourselves. So for example, how did I get to 22%? I noticed what was holding me back, and that was there were limiting beliefs, which were very confrontational. I was talking to myself like, I'm not good enough. I don't belong into this team, because why would I be there? There are other people who are way better than I am. And in a way, I was a very lone warrior of saying, well, I have to fight for myself, where you can say, yeah, but that's ultra running. No, it isn't. Ultra running at its best, you are a really good team player. You know how to work with your support crew. You know how to work even with your competitors, and it gets you through. And that's where some of step changes are, of saying, I'm not on my own here. I work this system in a way which just gets all of us to a better outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. And which are the organizations, or what have you seen in organizations? Because it strikes me a lot of this comes back to creating a culture where it's okay to fail fast, getting rid of that fear of failure. How do you see that working in the business world, where I guess there's a lot of the old-fashioned management is that fear of failure, but what are you seeing some of the more visionary businesses doing to help get that culture and help their team succeed more?
So I think it starts with the top leadership team actually getting vulnerable. And by vulnerable, I mean is saying it's not like the attitude of we know everything and we need to help the rest of the organization somehow see the light as well. That is a very common view, and I understand it. I mean, it's yes, top people are typically way better than some others. I get that. I mean, that's how they got there. But it's really what is holding them back. And that's what I'm seeing with businesses I'm working is the ones who make real big shifts are the ones who then look at themselves and say, okay, this is where we're actually not great at. So it's going into that painful mode of saying, well, where are we not great at? And so to give you an example, a business I've been working with, really all the outside talk was all about that kind of, yeah, but we're creating opportunities, you can fail, all of that. But then in the nitty gritty, it was like, no, you can't miss any single deadline. You have to get every single dot on a PowerPoint somewhere in the right spot, where it's important to have discipline, but there was no room for failure. And the organization was blind to that as well, of saying, oh, we didn't even notice that. We just thought this is summer excellence. And yes, it is summer excellence, but it is killing any innovation. And they opened that up and said, well, we're actually okay with a higher failure rate. At the same time, they are also seeing that the benefits are significantly higher now. So, an interesting one.
Yeah, so we'll come straight through to a question that's just come in as we're talking about the structure piece as well. So Jamie wonders around balancing the structure from working from home to really creating the separation between work life and home life, lines that can be blurred during COVID. So we might come to that as we've been discussing some of that.
So let me just understand the exact question. So how can I best help this one here? So the blurred lines, help me understand the question exactly. Sorry for that.
He's saying that when we're working from home, or are we living at work, as someone said to me, there can be a blur between, you know, working and your private life. How can you manage that separation as opposed to get up, have your coffee or tea, and then you spend all day in front of your computer and then you go to bed?
Sorry, yes, I get it now. I think that's very important, and it's very normal. What helps me is putting clear boundaries in. So, and it comes back to when are we good in performances as well. It's what helps when we go to the office, for example, is we typically have a commute back home, however that works. And there is somehow a space we create between work and home, which is the drive home, which might be whatever you do. You're on the phone, you're someone listening to radio, you might be annoyed at traffic, but at least there is somehow a space which separates those two. And that obviously doesn't exist when we're at home naturally, because I quite often, I'm at my laptop and then it's dinner time, and there is absolutely no time to somehow wind down. And therefore I would suggest put somehow clear processes in, put something in, put a routine in. Routine is a better word than process. Put a routine in of saying, yeah, but after work, I want to take a 5-minute walk around the block, and then I somehow do something else. Then I'm there for the family. Because let's be honest, if you just switch off your computer and then go to the kids, to the rest of the family, you're probably still with your mind at work. You didn't have time to wind down and to do things. Just book them in. It will help. Absolutely. It's a simple one. I would highly recommend that one.
So just getting some different avenues to have some little breaks is good advice. Sure.
Yes, and just linking it to performances, that's also really important. It's pressing the break button, which is basically what I'm saying right now, is press pause before doing something else. Yeah. That's something which in lots of sports somehow the athletes struggle with. I mean, take a tennis player. Between sets, there is a little break. And the really good tennis players know how to use that break.
Yeah.
It's part of the performance. It is, if you use that break well, you will be better in the next set.
Yeah.
And just rushing from one to the next is not the right thing. And relating it to the ultra running world, it might just be an interesting story for me. I raced one of those last one standing events earlier in the year, which is, if people might have heard it under the name of the race with no finish line. So you basically run 6.7 kilometers per hour, which is not that much, then have time off until the next hour basically restarts, and then keep running that kind of format, so 6.7 kilometers an hour every hour on the hour until no other competitors are left. So you have no clue how long the race will go for. And I think what I did particularly well in that race was I knew how to use the break well. Those kind of 10-15 minutes I had between performances, I used them way better than any other competitor, and that made all the difference.
How far did you manage to run before you had to stop?
Well, after 36 hours, there was nobody else left. So that was 241 kilometers.
So as soon as you're the last one left, you just think, well, that's it. It's not, there's no sort of tendency to think, can I push on a bit and set down a marker? Or I guess you're putting gas by 36 hours, right?
Well, once nobody's left, so after 35 hours, nobody was left. And then in order to win, you have to run one more lap.
Okay,
And
amazing.
there you see mentally what a difference it makes. It was very draining not knowing where the finish line was. And that's really hard for all of us, just to say, well, I can activate some reserves, energy reserves. If I knew it was only 10 hours to go, only 5 hours to go, that wouldn't be that difficult. But not knowing, saying it could be over next hour, it could be over in 2 days, who knows? That's really tough.
And I guess there are parallels between running a business. You know, you can say you've got these exit plans or you want to retire at this age, whatever it might be, but no one really knows what's going to happen at the end. And I suppose you've got to liken that to the pandemic, right? And borders closing as an example, or vaccinations. We don't really know when it's all going to, you know, go back to normal. We probably don't even know what normal is anymore.
Yeah, I mean, we're basically, I mean, our life is, we don't know any finish line, and it's just what motivates us. So yeah, I agree.
A couple of, not digressing too much, but I heard you on a podcast talking about a 24-hour race, and you said, well, you don't really need sleep for 24 hours. And I thought, well, some people probably would like a bit of sleep in 24 hours, but did you sleep during 36 hours of running?
One of the competitors said after like 24, one of the other competitors he got very emotional and angry with me. I mean, I didn't do anything. And he said, oh, you're still fresh as a daisy because you're sleeping all the time. And he was really angry at me, where it said, well, he was a faster runner. He could have done anything he liked with his time off. And he chose to spend his time having drinks and pizza with a mate of his. So having more of a really a party in a way. Whereas I just closed my eyes. I didn't sleep. I couldn't sleep. It's not easy going from running towards sleeping within a few minutes, knowing that you have to wake up again. I mean, I couldn't sleep. So no, I didn't sleep. But just resting your eyes does help.